Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take sources you've shared and, well, really dig in. We look for the key insights, the surprising bits, things to help you get informed fast. Today we're tackling a topic that, let's be honest, many of us find difficult. Suffering. We often try to push it away, right? Or minimize it.
We definitely do. It's uncomfortable territory.
But our source material today, it offers a really different angle. Quite unique, I'd say.
It certainly is. We're looking at insights attributed to a very old perspective, a dragon named Zoran. And what's fascinating is how much it actually lines up with Dr. DeMartini's work.
That is interesting, a dragon and DeMartini.
Yeah, it's a potent mix. It really invites you to look at this universal experience, suffering, in a completely new way.
Okay. So our mission then for this deep dive, it's really to explore this core idea from the sources. The possibility that suffering isn't just, a mistake, random bad luck, but that it might actually have a hidden purpose, maybe even a role in our growth.
Exactly. The sources don't just acknowledge suffering exists. They challenge that knee-jerk reaction to label it purely negative. It's more about suggesting we turn towards it, ask questions of it.
Instead of just running away.
Right, to try and find the lessons that might be sort of woven into it.
Okay, let's unpack that. It's a pretty profound perspective. The source, coming from this, incredibly long view of time, it says right off the bat, suffering is not an error. That immediately feels wrong, doesn't it? Based on how we experience it.
It absolutely does.
So if it's not an error, what is it, according to this view?
Well, from this perspective, and again, echoing Dr. DeMartini's ideas on universal laws, suffering is like one side of a coin, a fundamental cosmic coin.
Okay, one side of coin, what's the other side?
Growth. The idea is that the universe is always seeking balance. Perfect balance. So for every event we see as negative, there's an inherent equal and opposite positive, even if we can't see it right away.
Right, hidden sometimes.
Exactly. So suffering is just the perceived negative part that actually drives or facilitates the necessary positive growth.
So it's not random. It's part of some larger mechanism. It's quite a thought.
Precisely. It's framed less as punishment or just bad luck, and more like a signal, a precisely calibrated signal.
A signal, like an alarm.
Sort of, yeah. Think of it like feedback, maybe from the universe, maybe from your own deeper self. It's signaling maybe an imbalance in how you see things, or challenging values you hold really tightly, or just highlighting an area where you need to expand, to understand something deeper, to move on.
A signal pointing to where learning is needed. That's a powerful way to reframe it. The source uses a really vivid analogy here, the oyster.
Ah, yes, the oyster and the pearl, or rather the grain of sand first. For the oyster, that sand is an intrusion, right? An irritant. It's uncomfortable. It's the oyster's version of suffering. Unwanted, painful.
Okay, and what does the oyster do? How does it react to this irritant?
Well, it doesn't just suffer passively or try to just force the sand out. Through this sustained organic process, it actually engages with the irritant. It coats it layer upon layer of the substance, nacre. It transforms the source of its pain into something totally different.
And then something different is?
A pearl, something beautiful, valuable.
Right.
And the key is the pearl isn't separate from the suffering, the irritation. It's literally made by it, forged by it.
So our suffering, this difficult, irritating experience.
Yeah.
It's like that grain of sand. It comes in, demands attention, causes pain. And the source is suggesting if we respond like the oyster, what then?
If you engage with it, yeah. If you approach the discomfort not just as something bad to get rid of, but as something that might contain a purpose, you can generate your own pearls.
Pearls of wisdom.
Pearls of wisdom, resilience, deeper self-awareness, maybe discovering strengths you never knew you had, all emerging directly from that painful experience.
Wow. Okay, so it's like the universe isn't just allowing bad things. It's actively, maybe even forcefully, pushing us, nudging us towards growth, towards knowing ourselves better.
The source material is pretty direct about this. It says, humans often shy away from their biggest challenges, their shadows. But the most profound insights, the biggest leaps in wisdom and strength, they often come from navigating that darkness.
Okay, this is where it gets practical, maybe. The source doesn't just lay out this idea. It suggests a way to interact with your own suffering differently, moving beyond just being a victim to it.
Exactly. The shift is from just enduring it or fighting it blindly to actively inquiring. You don't just suffer passively. You kind of become a student of your suffering.
The student of suffering.
but asking questions to the experience, like, okay, what are you trying to teach me here? What am I missing? Or what hidden part of me or the world are you showing me right now?
Yeah.
What strength or lesson is buried in this challenge that I actually need?
Framing the pain as a teacher.
Right.
Wow. That really changes the dynamic, doesn't it? It's not just random cruelty happening to you.
Right. From this viewpoint, it's happening, at least partly, for you, to reveal something essential.
The source says, quite explicitly, I think, that within every heartbreak, every failure, every moment of despair,
Mm.
there lies the seed of an equal or even greater benefit waiting.
Yes, equal or greater benefit. That's the claim. And it can feel huge, almost unbelievable, when you're right in the thick of it.
It really can. How does it suggest these benefits actually look?
Yeah.
Or how is that balance achieved? It feels so unbalanced in the moment.
Well, it suggests they show up in all sorts of ways. The suffering might force you to get really clear on what you actually value, strips away the superficial stuff.
Okay, like a purification.
Yeah, maybe. Or it could cultivate a depth of compassion for yourself and others that you just couldn't access before. It might uncover this inner strength, this grit you didn't know you had.
We talked about grit earlier.
Exactly. Or it could completely shift your life's direction onto a path that's actually more aligned with who you really are. The source argues it's that very pressure, that heat, that transforms, like the oyster with the sand. Without that challenge, maybe you wouldn't realize your full potential.
Like fire refining metal or weights building muscle. There was another image too, wasn't there, about winds.
Ah, yes. The strong winds. When adversity hits hard, the instinct is to hide, right? To shield yourself.
Definitely.
But the source suggests instead, spread your wings.
Spread your wings into the wind. That sounds terrifying.
Oh, yeah. It's not because the wind feels good. It's because that resistance, that pressure is exactly what tests and strengthens your wings. It prepares you for higher flights, more powerful flights you couldn't manage otherwise.
So the suffering isn't just endured. It's presented as this active force. If you engage with it, it's shaping you, strengthening you, calibrating you for what's next.
That's the idea. It's about actively looking for and integrating the lessons hidden inside the difficulty.
Okay, so let's try and wrap up this deep dive. It's been a lot to think about. The core idea, drawing from Zoran and DeMartini through our sources, is pretty challenging. That suffering isn't some cosmic mistake, but maybe a necessary, powerful catalyst for growth.
Mm-hmm.
Holding potential benefits, lessons we often miss when we're just focused on the hurt.
Right. We talked about suffering as one side of that coin linked tightly with growth, that balance principle, and we dove into that oyster and pearl analogy, how an irritant, something unwanted, can be transformed into value.
Yeah, that was powerful. And the idea of suffering as a signal, like a feedback loop pointing out imbalances or lessons we need, and the power you get from reframing it, seeing pain not just as a tormentor, but maybe as a tough teacher.
A tough teacher you can actually learn from, yeah, by asking it questions. And the source really emphasizes that the growth comes from how you interact with it, that it can reveal priorities, build that resilience we talked about, force needed changes, deepen empathy, arguing that inside the difficulty is the potential for an equal or maybe even greater benefit if you look for it.
It definitely takes courage to even consider this perspective, especially when you're actually hurting. And the source does offer a practical step, doesn't it? A way to start exploring this.
It does. It suggests looking back.
Looking back.
Yeah, at a past suffering, maybe not the biggest one initially, but something you've been through, and intentionally trying to identify specific ways it did lead to growth, or a positive change, or some strength you discovered.
So it's not about saying the pain wasn't real or didn't hurt.
Not at all. It's about acknowledging the pain and trying to see its potential role in your journey through this particular lens.
Recognizing its potential role in your evolution.
What's really interesting is how the source invites you to see these tough times less like roadblocks, and maybe more like a demanding staircase. Often painful, yes, but one that ultimately leads you somewhere higher, a better vantage point.
A demanding staircase. I like that. So this leaves us and you with a pretty big question to mull over after this deep dive, drawn right from the source material. If suffering is, as presented here, this necessary transforming thread woven into the tapestry of your life, how might recognizing its potential purpose, even when it feels impossible, how might that begin to change how you navigate the challenges that you will inevitably face in the future?